December 20th, 1943, 27,000 feet above Nazi Germany, a young American bomber pilot named Charlie Brown is about to die. His B-17, the ye old pub, is shredded. One engine is dead. Another is on fire. The tail gun is blown apart. Half his crew is wounded and bleeding out in the fuselage. His co-pilot is slumped over, unconscious. They've just survived a bombing run over Bremen, barely, and now they're limping home across enemy territory, an easy target for any German fighter that spots them. And then, one does. A Bf-109 roars up beside them, close enough that Charlie can see the pilot's face through the canopy, close enough to see the black crosses on the wings. This is it. This is the end. But what happens next defies everything we think we know about war, because that German pilot, Franz Stigler, doesn't pull the trigger. Instead, he does something that could get him executed. This is the true story of two enemies who became brothers. Let's rewind a few hours. December 20th, 1943. A cold gray morning at Kimballton Airfield in England. 21-year-old Second Lieutenant Charlie Brown is preparing for his first mission as a B-17 aircraft commander. He's barely old enough to drink, but today he's responsible for 9 other lives. The target was Bremen, Germany, a heavily defended industrial city crawling with anti-aircraft guns and German fighters. Charlie's crew boards the ye old pub, a flying fortress that's supposed to live up to its name. They take off in formation with hundreds of other bombers, an armada of American steel, heading into the heart of the Third Reich. But the mission goes wrong almost immediately. As they approach the target, German fighters swarm them like hornets. Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs tear through the formation. Anti-aircraft flak explode around them, shredding metal and flesh. The ye old pub gets hit. Hard. A 20mm cannon shell smashes through the nose, nearly killing the navigator. Another rips through the fuselage. The number 2 engine catches fire. The tailgunner, a kid from Ohio, takes shrapnel to the leg and collapses in his turret. Charlie's co-pilot is knocked unconscious by debris. The oxygen system is destroyed. At 27,000 feet, without oxygen, the crew starts to black out. Charlie has no choice. He pushes the yoke forward and dives, a desperate screaming dive toward thicker air where they can breathe. The bomber drops like a stone. 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet. Finally, at 1,000 feet, just above the treetops, Charlie pulls up. They're alive. Barely. But now they're alone, separated from the formation, flying low and slow over Nazi Germany in a crippled bomber that's trailing smoke. They're wounded, defenseless, and completely vulnerable. And that's when Franz Stigler spots them. Franz Stigler is not your typical Nazi pilot. Sure, he's an ace, 27 confirmed kills, a recipient of the Knight's Cross. He survived 3 years of brutal air combat over Europe and North Africa. He's seen friends die, he's been shot down himself and lived to tell about it. But Franz is also a man of honor. Before the war, his commander, a legendary pilot named Gustav Rodel, had pulled him aside and said something Franz never forgot. "If I ever see you shooting at a man in a parachute, I'll shoot you down myself." The message was clear. There are rules, even in war. Even against the enemy, there's a line you don't cross. On this December afternoon, Franz has just landed to refuel after a fierce battle. He's 1 kill away from earning the Ritter Cross, the Knight's Cross, Germany's highest military honor. 1 more kill, and his career is made. His commander points to the sky. A lone American bomber, smoking and barely flying, is limping across the airfield at low altitude. Franz takes off immediately. This is it, an easy kill, a sitting duck. He pulls up alongside the ye old pub, guns armed, ready to fire. And then he sees inside. Through the shattered plexiglass nose, he sees the wounded navigator trying desperately to tend to the others. Through the holes in the fuselage, he sees blood on the walls. He sees men, boys really, slumped over their guns, some not moving at all. He looks at Charlie in the cockpit. Charlie looks back. For a moment, time stops. Franz realizes, this isn't a bomber anymore. This is a flying ambulance. He thinks of Rodel's words. He thinks of his own brother, a Luftwaffe pilot killed earlier in the war. He thinks about honor, and he makes a choice that changes everything. He doesn't fire. Instead, he slides his fighter into formation beside the crippled bomber. He waves at Charlie, not in aggression, but in communication. He's trying to tell him something. Charlie is terrified. He thinks this is some kind of sadistic game. But Franz keeps gesturing, pointing north, toward the coast, toward the sea, toward England. He's trying to help. For the next 20 minutes, something miraculous happens. Franz Stigler, a decorated Luftwaffe ace, becomes the guardian angel of an enemy bomber. He flies beside them, his Messerschmitt just meters away from their wingtip. When they pass over German anti-aircraft batteries, Franz positions himself between the guns and the bomber, knowing the gunners won't fire at their own fighter. When they approach the German coast, the most dangerous part of the journey, Franz flies so close that the gunners below assume the B-17 must be a captured Allied plane being escorted for intelligence purposes. He shields them, protects them, guides them. Charlie and his crew are baffled, terrified. They don't understand what's happening. Is this some kind of trick? Is he herding them toward more fighters? But as they finally reach the coast and cross over the North Sea, Franz does something extraordinary. He salutes, a formal military salute, one warrior to another. Then he banks his fighter, turns back toward Germany, and disappears into the clouds. Charlie Brown and his crew make it back to England. Against all odds, they survive. But Franz Stigler's decision that day, it's a secret he can never tell, because if his superiors find out he spared an enemy bomber, that he escorted it to safety, he'll be court-martialed and executed. So Franz buries the story. He tells no one, not his fellow pilots, not his commanders, not even his family. For the rest of the war, he carries that secret alone. The war ends. Franz survives. Charlie survives. They go home to their separate countries, their separate lives. Charlie works for the State Department in the United States. Franz becomes a successful businessman in Canada. But neither of them can forget that day. In December 1943, Charlie is haunted by the German pilot who saved his life. Who was he? Did he survive the war? Why did he do it? For more than 40 years, Charlie searches. He writes letters. He contacts veterans groups. He places ads in military magazines. He describes the encounter in detail. The winter day, the crippled bomber, the Messerschmitt that escorted them to safety. Nothing. No response. No leads. Until 1990. Charlie places one more ad in a newsletter for fighter pilots. He's given up hope by now, but he tries one last time. And then a letter arrives from Canada, from a man named Franz Stigler. He writes, "I was the pilot of the Messerschmitt. I didn't shoot you down because you reminded me of my brother. I'm glad you made it home." Charlie's hands shake as he reads it. After 40 years of searching, he's found him. In 1990, Franz Stigler and Charlie Brown meet face-to-face for the first time since that December day in 1943. Two old men, two former enemies, standing in an airport terminal, staring at each other. And then they embrace. Over the next 18 years, they become inseparable. Brothers in every way that matters.
They vacation together. They speak at schools and veteran events together. They share their story, a story of mercy, honor, and the humanity that can survive even in the darkest moments of war. Franz Stigler never got his Knight's Cross. He never got recognition from his own country for what he did that day. But he got something far more valuable. He got a brother. Charlie Brown passed away in 2008. Franz Stigler followed just 8 months later, as if he couldn't bear to be apart. Their story reminds us that even in war, especially in war, we have a choice. We can choose honor over orders, mercy over revenge, humanity over hatred. Franz Stigler made that choice at 27,000 feet above Nazi Germany in December 1943. And because of it, 10 men went home, and 2 enemies became brothers.